Alright, so for this part of the review, we're working with simplifying I. As a reminder, I is equal to the square root of -1. So when we have I squared, that's equal to the square root of -1 squared. And because the square root and raising something to the second power cancels each other out, I to the second is -1. I to the third we could rewrite as I squared times I, which would be -1 times I, which is -I. And the last term we're focusing on is I to the fourth. That would be I to the third times I, which is -I times I, which would be -I squared. And as we said, I squared is -1, so that's -1, which becomes just +1. So we have this repeating pattern of 4, where I to the first is equal to the square root of -1, or I to the second is equal to -1, I to the third, which is -I, and I to the fourth, which is 1. Because of this pattern, we could take the exponent of an I power, and the remainder would help us indicate which of the pattern we're using. I to the second, we could answer that directly because we know that that is equal to -1. I to the seventh, on the other hand, we would divide 7 by 4, and using long division, we realize, or notice, that the remainder is 3. So I to the seventh is the same thing as saying I to the third, which is -I for the final solution. For I to the 10th, same thing, 4 divided by 10 would be 2, with a remainder of 10, act it up for a second, with a remainder of 2. So I to the 10th is the same thing as saying I to the second, which is -1. 51. 51 divided by 4, well, we start off by saying 4 goes into 5 once. We're left over with 11. Ooh, pen's acting up a little bit. While we wait for that to load up, 11, which 4 goes into twice. So once again, we have a remainder of 3. That remainder of 3 tells us that I to the 51st is the same thing as saying I to the third, which is -I for a final solution. 103 divided by 4 will give us 25 with a remainder of 3. So I to the third is the same, I to the 103rd is the same as I to the third, which is -I. If you had a remainder of 1, you would use I to the first, or I. Remainder of 2, -1, remainder of 3, -I, and a remainder of 0, or no remainder, would be 1. Because even though I to the fourth is 1, so is I to the 0, because anything to the 0 power is 1.